さあ、引き続き ESA Summer 2023、そしてジャパニーズリストリームでお楽しみいただいております。引き続き、私、レイヤが皆様のご案内担当してまいります。次のゲームは、トータリーアキュレイトバトルシミュレーターということで、こちら、カテゴリーが 100% となっているんですけれども、DLC があるんですかね。SRC の方見てみますと結構いろんなステージがあるようでして、これをクリアするカテゴリーのオリジナル3キャンペーンズっていう風になってますので、最初にリリースされた3つみたいな感じなのかなと思います。こちら解説の方いらっしゃいませんので、また、内容のわかる方いらっしゃいましたら、どんなことでも構いません。チャットの方もしくは、こちらのボイスチャットの方お入りいただいて、ぜひお話しいただけたらと思います。そうですね。トータリーアキュレイトバトルシミュレーターですね。物理演算のふにゃふにゃの物理演算に基づいたふにゃふにゃの赤青の兵士を操作してバトルシミュレーションを行うステージクリア型のゲームということですね。現在発売されているのが、まあ大体一通りどこでもできそうな感じですけれども、Nintendo Switch のストアの方のメーカーによる説明です。多分これ完全に英語を直訳したような翻訳だとは思うんですが。古代の国々、不気味なところ、そしてファンタジーの世界からやってきた赤青のグダグダ兵士たちを指揮しよう。史上最高にグダグダな物理演算システムに基づくシミュレーションで彼らの戦闘を眺めよう。プレイ可能なグダグダ兵士は100種類以上。それに飽きたらユニットクリエイターで自分だけの兵士を作ろう。オンラインマルチプレイヤーでは自分のグダグダ兵士を派遣して友達や他のプレイヤーとも戦える。ゲームの特徴、キャンペーン、マルチプレイヤー、ユニットとファクションのクリエイター、キャンペーンとバトルのクリエイター、サンドボックスモード、ユニット所持、おバカなユニットの数々というふうに書いてある。そういうゲームなんだと思います。グダグダ兵士って書き方がすごくいいですよね。
and type !ninja in chat to find out more. But now, it's time for our runner,
そうですね、100% って書いてはありますけれど、かなりサクサクとステージ進んでいくようなので、そういったところの、軽妙な感じはね、ご覧いただけるんじゃないでしょうか。さあ、ゲーム画面来ました。キャンペーンズっていう風に書いてありますけれども、たくさんある中で、これをプレイしています。ゲームの概要を最初ちょっと見せてもらってる感じですかね。もうここからスタート。はい、スタートです。はい、グダグダ兵士がどんどんやっていきます。
category that I'm doing, it's a little bit of a category that we've just sort of come up with specifically for the event, which is the original 3 campaigns.
ブーメランを投げるユニットをあっという間に倒しました。もう一回やり直しかな？やり直しかな？今度ははい、来ましたね。意図している動きを相手がしてくれない時もあるんでしょうか。今度はアローレインですかね。
So there's one thing we use a lot of the time, which I've not used yet, called the cheerleader. And it's a
これまた打ち上げて、
effect because after the song by Carpenter Brad. I
ま
hope
た
that
潰
made
してい
sense
き
to
ます。
one
一掃
person
して
in
い
the
きますね。
audience.
気持ちいいですね。
An accomplishment if it is.
さあ、真ん中に橋がかかって川があるステージ。
Essentially, it just increases the speed at which a unit attacks.
2人出しましたか？
And I'm sorry about the tutorial, by the way. That is not anything I can get rid of.
魔法？魔
It's
法なのかな？
actually not a
魔法と矢です
running
ね。
the game in some ways because, sorry, I've got some health bars that aren't on. I don't know why this has happened. It's because I haven't set it up properly. Oh well, I'm so sorry.
物理演算ベースのゲーム最近増えましたね、ほんとね。
To actually do this in terms of speedrunning because there are a couple of bugs in the game at the moment that make it less consistent or some of the units don't work properly. It's very confusing.
PVP のゲームとかでもありますし。
And one of the problems with the game at the moment is there's a unit.
単純に動きがね、眺めてて楽しいですよね。
And here's the first use of the cheerleader. The first
小麦畑でしょう
all you need
か。
to do is spawn in a unit that has sort of a powerful attack. Whoa, I've
結
placed
構人出しましたね。
This is going so poorly. Oh my god. Right. Secret.
ユニットの数が本当に豊富ですね。いろいろ出せる
Place
な。
down this bomb. Can I place down too many? Like this. There we go. I shouldn't have any more problems like that. Just getting used to the hardware, I guess, if you like. And what the cheerleader does is increase the speed of the unit, as I've said. But the reason it's brilliant for speedrunning is because it stacks indefinitely.
仕事帰りの俺、
As many
ちょっ
cheerleaders
と足元しっかりしてほしいかな。
and then we can just use that for the entire duration of the run. And yeah, it's brilliant. We can use lots of cheerleaders with, particularly with the bomb cannon that I'm using at the moment, as you can see here. Yeah, bomb cannon, very frequent use of this.
いいですね。真ん中にまとまっているステージだと、本当に2人でアローレイン振らせるだけでもう一掃できますね。
We now do, which is much better for RNG, because obviously we can control the units and actually have an impact on what they're doing and what's going on. The point of this game is it's a sort of goofy simulator game, so it's not really, first of all, it's not meant for speedrunning. Second of all, it's not really meant to be consistent either. In fact, if you place down the same configuration of units, then they won't do exactly the same thing.
砦の前かな？
So it's difficult in terms of
これ
consistency.
大砲か。なるほどなるほど。
But, we got a few
なんか
strategies to make it a lot easier. Like
細長いもの出してるなーって
and
思
this
っ
is a level
て
that
ね。
we would normally use something a bit different on. It's called the
さあ
tempest,
街の中、
spawns in a thunder
なんか
cloud.
跳ねてますけど、これは何ですか？ドラゴンですか？
Unit called the dragon instead
虫ですか？ドラゴンですね。
is sprays a lot of fire.
ドラゴンっていうよりは竜なのかな？
So hopefully it does kill this last character. Oh no, there's one in this alley.
これあれじゃないですか？
Yeah.
中国の獅子舞みたいな。
Let's try it again. And there's nothing I can do to affect levels like this. I just have to hope that it works out. So in terms of
あれが本当に火吹いたらとんでもないです
be a
ね。
lot worse, basically. There are some levels that used to be so much less consistent. And you can see there, I didn't change anything, but it simulated completely differently. So there's a lot to be said for placing a unit in a specific way to make it more consistent. That was very good. Yeah. Oh, I should say there's a Kirby plush behind me because there's a runner called CGF that wasn't able to travel to Sweden. Amazing girl. Very, very good at running the game nowadays, and one of the only few people who does still run it, to be honest. But yeah, I thought I'd bring the plush along to represent her. Can we use this? This is another use of slightly different strategy we've got for it, called the ballista. And this has a much more refined projectile. That the idea of this is that it takes out units that have got a lot of health, instead of units that have, instead of a large group of units. Coming towards the end of the introduction, which is a little bit of it's a roller coaster in terms of, I don't know, it's in terms of you got lots of different strategies you've got to use at different times, and then we also have the challenge a bit later on, which is kind of like that, but it should be fairly consistent. I think a ballista might have been better to use on this one as well. Can we get this unit? Yeah, this is obviously a unit that has lots of health, so it would have been better to use a ballista. Anyway, I apologize for that. We use ballista on this one, however, it's much more consistent. Because we have these, I don't know, they're called Jarls or something like that. There's sort of the top chieftain Viking units that you may have seen before. If you've heard of this game, it may be in terms of a very old alpha version. Okay, let me use it. Actually, for this one, actually. We use dragons, which is more consistent. It burns everything to the ground, and that should be the introduction.
すごいドラゴンの圧力。全部こいつでよくね？さあ最初のチュートリアルス テージはね、無事クリアしまして、次の2つ目。これが、ちょっと待ってくださいね。
That's more obvious, and this level is very annoying. It can be anywhere from 10 to 30 seconds long. It's very different. When I was here ESA Summer last year, I ran Adventure by itself. I didn't think it covered a huge amount of the game, so I switched over to requesting that we do all 3 of the original campaigns, which is a little bit more interesting because we cover a few more areas. But basically, if you haven't grasped the idea of this so far, there is just an amount of money, or if you're just tuning in, I should say, really. There's an amount of money.
The introduction, the adventure, the challenge っていう風になってるので、多分2つ目のアドベンチャーっていうステージになるから。確かに長崎こういう感じのね、竜いる催しありますよね。やる気あるかこいつら。歩兵でやっちゃう。なんかすげえバスって切ったな。
We've got it pretty quickly. The load times are also very good on ESA's computer, so I thank ESA for that very much, and any sponsors involved in that. Do we still use the bomb cannon here? No, we use a different unit here called the Devout Gauntlet. I think it's the only time we use this, but we have no money at all. We have to get.
とはいえ何かリソースがあるのか、もしくはスピードとかが、動きにスピードがユニットごとに違うから。なんかどんどん落ちてきますけど大丈夫あれ？えこいつ今何かした？
have on that level, we can just get over there a little bit more quickly. And a lot of them are like that, I'm afraid. You just got to play to the unit's weaknesses, which I guess is the point of the game anyway. I suppose we're doing around about 150.
それでええんかっていう感じでしたけどね。
But some of them are really short, so we haven't exactly enough money for a clubber on this one. Can we?
なんで上角線でさ、上取ってるのに、上取ってる方が落ちてきて負けるんだよ。もうちょっとちゃんと血のりを生かせよ。
No, still very inconsistent hits. There we go. All of the destination levels are a little bit like that. There's only a few of them, a few of the later ones that I can actually get a different unit for. I suppose I better shout out at some point in this.
コンボを持ったのが全ての間違いでるあいつ。飛び道具で上から叩けば一発で勝ちだろ。
He made a video about Totally Accurate Battle. Maybe a couple of videos about Totally Accurate Battle Simulator. I just killed all my cheerleaders. Can you believe it? We're gonna have to go far away from the halflings. He made a lot of he makes a lot of speedrunning content on slightly sillier speedruns or speedruns that are just a little bit different from the normal. And Totally Accurate Battle Simulator was one of them. That was really cool because it grew.
トータリーアキュレートバトルシミュレーターなんで、これがね、あるべき戦いの姿だという風なゲーム側からのね、メッセージの。戦いってのはこうやってやるもんだっていうことはね、私たちの固定観念を吹っ飛ばそうとしてくれてるわけですよね。
Move around. Okay, I've blown my cannon up again. Does happen sometimes. There we go. We're gonna play this really safe now. Don't worry. And yeah, there are a lot of levels that end up later on with slightly more complicated battles. This one is a very simple one where unfortunately we are just mowing down halflings. No prizes for guessing what that's a reference to. The Lord of the Rings universe for stuff. There isn't an incentive for this game this time. I did.
真ん中に人がいっぱい並んでいる。なんか等間隔に。うわ、なんだこれ。ひどい戦いを見た。一番後ろで待機する人一人置いときゃ、トータルで見ればこっちの勝ちやろっていう。人道のかけらもない戦いでしたね、今の。
AI is the thing about one-on-one fights. The AI is just better than the player could ever really be at it. I don't know why. It's very strange, but it's just the way it works. I think we can use the ballista here as well. It's a lot more efficient for taking out these sort of high health units.
石海。石海撃ってる。あ、撃ってる撃ってる。あまりに速い石海の装填。俺じゃなきゃ見逃しちゃうね。囲った？何今の？てか、相手今、こっち側にはみ出してたよな。それええの？うわ。
that's a destination we could use.
ふんじゃねえんだよ。
But actually, you can afford a guy that just throws a spear instead of holding one. So yeah, we can defeat them with range. That's quite a frequent strategy as well. You have to defeat them with range when there are units that don't use anything to do with range. Very cool. Are we now on this? Yes, there we can use a dragon either side of this. So this level there are lots of these
Sadoragon.
Characters. They're all healing one attacking knight character.
うわー。転移動ができるのがまたね、ひどいですよね。敵がやられていく様を眺められるっていう。立ち悪いぜ。こんなんが長崎の風物詩であってたまるか。もっと平和な街だろ。
I believe I could remember all the strategies for that if I was really pressed to, but I haven't. They're not involved in this run today.
騎士道のかけらもね、なんだおめえら。もっとちゃんとやり合え。負けんな。
Terrible sword combat skills here. Can we please get him? He's turned around and I can't get it. Sometimes your hit doesn't also kill them immediately. It's really hard to imagine why that would happen. Actually, this is as good a time as any for a donation. I think this would be good. We should use a gunslinger here.
嫌ですかね。アローレイン。
Perfect, because now we have met the Duolingo incentive for Klingon as a bonus language. And to celebrate that, I got an amazing donation by RoboSparkle for $28.34 to match the amount exactly.
Oh,
and
perfect.
The message reads...
さあ、
I don't know, or something like that. This apparently translates to you can encounter Kalis in your
デュオリンゴのドネーションが基準の$2000に達したようでして、Klingon Run. Let's try learning a space language ということで、宇宙語みたいなものをプレイされるようですね。はい。デュオリンゴは、この後5時過ぎからプレイ予定ということですね。次のエンドレス ATC っていうのを挟んでプレイされます。楽しみですね。なんか突然爆発音めちゃくちゃだし、何も見えねえけど。やばいことしてんな。先行魔法で洞窟の中一掃してる？何も見えない。
Very bad RNG there, unfortunately, and there is a lot of instances where there is bad RNG. But luckily, there isn't really any RNG for some of these levels. Just throw a rock at him. It's all working. It's all perfect. In this level, there are some quirks to these later levels.
何が起きてるんです？わからないっぴ。
Probably not. Some of these levels
囲まれてるよ。
That's a much bigger theme with the modern campaigns, good and evil, that have been released.
囲まれてるけど知らないよ。
I probably have and just can't remember, but it seems very unusual. Units down there, that's all fine, but luckily it's not too bad. These cannons are very maneuverable. There's another RNG level. We're going to use these things called watches.
敵さん、ゾウさんが出てきましたね。
Really fun to use.
ゾウさんをゾウさんってな。
It's all worked out perfectly. And usually what happens is one of the mammoths gets stuck, one of the watches gets stuck, something goes really wrong like that. Can we get all of the berserkers out? Yes, we can. Very nice. What they do, these berserker Vikings, is they have a leap ability. They can jump on the buildings that are over here, for example, and take out all these catapults better than any range.
みんな好きよね。
And here's another destination level. We could
チ
buy
ャッ
another
トがちょっと鈍化してきたなーって思ってたら、なんかこういう時にだけいっぱい反応してくれるの気持ちいいですね。ありがたい限りですよ。
We can buy a musketeer, he's called, which is very effective. There is a couple of these levels coming up with just bomb cannons, which will be another good time for a donation, but there aren't any. Is there anything else to say, or shall I continue with explanations?
I mean, I want to remind people
大好物です。ありがとうございます。おゾウさんを。やかましいわ。
$8 of that will go directly to charity. So grab your own ESA Summer 20.
さっきのゾウさんももしかしたらマンモスだったかもしれない。
Thank you. And obviously, this is a marathon that's benefiting Alzheimer Fund and top charity. I really strongly recommend donating to them. There are also lots of cool prizes you can win if you don't. If you do donate a certain amount, you can check it out on the donation website or link on the ESA website. I mean, the garbled.
もう一回お願いします。このゲームのね、ダイジェストが完成した時にぜひ見直してください。説明しては良くないな。ほら、長崎の日常ですよ。また暖かくなってきましたね。
Which is you have various people who can spawn with deformities or things like that. They can have particularly large bodies or something like that. The enemies or the players' own spawns, which is really it's not brilliant for speedrunning, I suppose. Someone in the chat has said epilepsy warning. I suppose there's sort of, but I didn't think it would be a particular problem for this. I guess that there is a certain chance that this.
長崎に住んでるけどこんなの知らないって言ってらした方いましたね。
However, this level involves a unit that I was talking about earlier, which is a little bit.
このユニットだけやたらと音大きくね。ズガンズガン。雷落としてっけど。
But it's meant to fire these storm clouds at a much greater range than it actually does. Than it actually appeared to be doing there. So we can normally beat it just from sitting in this corner, that level. But on the current patch, I don't think that they don't work very well. I don't know exactly what's wrong with it. Okay, that went about as bad.
負けたが。
What's meant to happen here is this sword guy is meant to stab through this chap, and then this musketeer is meant to shoot him at the same time. There we go, worked out eventually.
おー、いた。
The quickest way of beating that. The first
こんな細い足場高いところでフェンシングやばいだろ。怖いな。
And yeah, I'll just say again, if you're tuning in, cheerleaders really frequent strategy in this. They just increase the speed of everything I'm doing. So I'm not using any kind of advanced technology to cheat on this. It's just using a certain unit at an excessive quantity. This is also an introduction to the pike. This level, it has this one-use attack that's very strong, and it's just going to jab forward into the mammoths in this case, hopefully. And it's particularly useful for killing big units that we'll see later on as well.
めっちゃ来た。めっちゃ来た。めっちゃ来た。
There's probably another wheelbarrow somewhere. There we go. And the point of the Tempest Lich is that it's meant to fire out these storm clouds that get them eventually at some point. Are we meant to use barrel rollers for this one? No.
夏なんでね。
But we're going to use. Sorry if my
雷雲も発生しますよね。
levels are very similar. Despite all of my practice for this, I still forget during run attempts and stuff like that. This level is a little bit more confusing for a destination. We're going to use 5 of these guys called Cavalier. Are they called Cavaliers? No, that's not what they're called. Ignore me. They're just called fencers, or so they've got fencing swords, and they can jab forwards and then get back very quickly, which is useful. It worked out very well there. Sometimes it doesn't work so well. Oh yeah, if you're aware of the potion seller meme, then this level is just full of potion sellers. Luckily, they do die to the bomb cannon, but occasionally, what happens is the potion sellers get forward to you quickly. And they just fire out. Okay, their potions essentially confuse your units. It becomes much harder to control, and they start going in different directions.
石弓ですね。
And it's very, very annoying to watch unfold. Luckily, if you're quick enough, you can avoid it completely. That guy should definitely be dead. That level is just a line of berserkers meant to use the Tempest Lich, but it's not working so well. So I've decided to ignore that strategy. For that level, we can use a ballista again. These are.
最初のチュートリアルステージがだいたい5分ぐらいで行きましたか？アドベンチャーのこの方の記録が16分40秒ということなので、もう少しね、あと3分くらいかな。
Yep, there's another bomb cannon level, more Valkyries and stuff like that. I guess I should shout out other various people from the community. I guess, obviously I should. There are awesome people who speedrun this game despite how difficult and frustrating it has been in the past. Particularly just with, we used to disallow things arbitrarily, like the cheerleaders were disallowed at one point just because we thought that would be too unfair of a strategy. We thought it would dominate the game. And to be fair,
高いところからゾウさんを落とすの極まりないと思う。
So it's a bit of a trade-off. If you want to do that, then that's obviously much more useful. We recently created some categories. Sorry, this guy is terrible. We recently created some categories to allow this thing called the bug DLC, which is it's self-explanatory. It's just a DLC that adds in a bunch of sort of cheats or console commands, if you like, but in very simple form. And one of the things that allows you to do is just spawn in arrows that explode on the enemies before anything's even happened. and we thought it would be quite a fun idea to have some categories for them. It's been requested a lot of times, so we implemented some, and then it's been discovered by a runner I can't remember the name of, which is really going to annoy me. I'm so sorry I can't remember the name. I think they're called Indo something. Indo person, I don't know. You have to
そう
check
です
out
ね。
the
大砲がやっぱり開けてる土地だと通りがいいですね。
arrows on every level, and it's faster than mostly every strategy. So it's a bit boring to speedrun that sort of stuff, but you can, and it's certainly still
この敵何してんだ？
category. In fact, it's much less RNG than this. This wheelbarrow guy's meant to fall down, but it's got stuck on here. And the problem with the AI
なんかスタックしてたな、今。
later is so bad.
あー、落ちた落ちた落ちた。
Walk up the stairs and go to them instead of trying to just stand here and jab at them or something.
逃げてます、逃げてます。
We have quite an interactive free cam with this as well, which is why we can look at all the battles in pretty good detail. We have another level where we use a ballista and cheerleader, so it's a little bit dull. But the challenge campaign is a little bit different to that, except for the last run of levels, which is really like it just uses bomb cannon after bomb cannon after bomb cannon, and it does get dull for that reason alone. That it's just one strategy.
石弓は縦並びのやつを倒すには都合がいいっていう感じなのかな。大砲はやっぱりもう少し範囲を消せるっていう感じ。焼け残ってますけど、
Let me see if we can do this again. The
やり
dragons
直しです
are
ね。
really, really wildly inconsistent. It's very frustrating, but they should be able to get these guys this time. They're all in the correct positions. Yes, it's gone very well. And that level we used to also use the Tempest Lich, but again, not working super well in the current patch. In terms of other runners that I want to thank for this, there's
お、飛んでるユニットですよ、相手。
the other two mod people.
パーピーとかでしょうか。
They are, they have in the past been particularly experienced runners of this. They haven't done too much in a while, but they're still knocking around in the community. They're really cool people. They're very committed to help.
ようやくお相手ちゃんと高さを生かしたプレイしましたね。
I have no explanation at all for this. It just sometimes happens. Also, this level is pretty cool for wonton destruction, I guess, even though it's just a bomb.
まあ弓で一発でしたね、今ね、リトライで。
It's pretty fantastic. And yes, cheerleaders do affect reload time. It's pretty cool, and it stacks
多分大砲は首を振りやすいっていうのも大きいんでしょうね。見た感じあまり石弓は首を振れてないから、その分直線に打つときは楽だけどっていう感じなのかなっていう印象。
We've got a Minotaur here. We're going to use a Watcher for this, which I'm going to
これ何？
Yep, there we go. And you fire the arrows at a certain time. His charge completely fails there because he has
矢をいっぱい撃てる箱？
which is rather enjoyable because we can just fire at him with the Watcher and it's brilliant. Very effective. In terms of the rest of the strategies for this campaign, there isn't a lot of different stuff involved. This level is very weird and hard to explain. What happens is all of these boats that are in the water just sink anyway. So we can just ignore them and go for the rest of the enemies that are over here somewhere. Get a Tempest Lich. And hopefully spawn in some clouds. This is what I mean. I will be able to fire them there, but I have to really be able to see them and they have to be really near me for it to work. Not sure why. Apparently Landfall, who made this game, are aware of it and are not prioritizing the fix because they're working on a console update. I think it's just a console release for the PlayStation. That'll be really cool. The catapult here has been very bad. It's going to be executed by firing.
うわ、一発。
Use another catapult there, obviously. This level is almost comical in the amount of money they've given us to fight this mammoth and these scarecrows. We're just going to get this. I don't even know what you would have. This feels like it might be banned by the convention. Just send one of these into.
ゾウさんはやっぱりね、あの巨体で直接肉弾戦を仕掛けられるから戦いの中で強いので。
But it's pretty good.
飛び道具にはやっぱり勝ち目がないっすよ
Let's see if we
ね
can。just rocket through some of these other levels, and I'll get to the more interesting stuff later on. Pikes, let's go. Hopefully this works out. Yeah, we're all good for that.
超長い槍。
And okay, we're coming into the last couple of levels. This level's a
お
little
相
bit.
手ユニットが少ないですね。こう。お、
Total knights. We have 100 money.
真正面から切り合う。切り合う。切り合う。切り合ってんのかこれ。切り合ってる？やり合って。ちゃんと、ああ、よしよしよしよし。
which I'm not going to have. I don't think I'm going to have the time to show off, so I won't go back to it. But we're coming into the end of the adventure campaign. There's this level and one more, and then we'll move on to the challenge. I have to race through that, seriously. I put in an estimate for this that I think I can just
あ
about
っ
do.
という間にやられちゃいましたね。
I can do it casually pretty easily as well.
ゾウさんどこに配置してんのこれ。屋根の上。
But last time I was pretty well under. Anyway,
なんだこれ。
we're 2/3 of the way there, or not 2/3, but I suppose we're well over 2/3,
お、
like 3/4.
行きました。さあ、
The adventure, we've done the introduction. So now it's
The Adventure が終わって最後、The Challenge 入っていきます。
and
残り
actually we
9
start
分
off
か
with
どう
one
で
match,
しょう
so
か
not really
ね。
living up to the case so far, but we should be fine. Let's just see
記
if we
録
can
が
take
7
it.
分半で、
We've done that very effectively. We're going to use a little bit of a weird strategy for this one. You're obviously familiar with these maps by now. We've got this one with the buildings, which is
こうベ
particularly
スト
bad
持
for
ってらっしゃ
consistency
るような
because
の
the
で、
units pathfinding is so weird. They just
割
sort
と
of
ギリギリ
grow
に
the
なりそう
building.
ですね。
Okay, what is meant to happen? These gunslingers go over the buildings. They take out the units in a certain way, and then hopefully they all die in the first volley. That's happened there. Very good, and that would have been very slightly slower, I think, if I just let them do another volley. Obviously, their stuff does recharge, but it's not very well. It takes ages for the gunslingers' volleys to recharge, about 12 seconds, which in terms of this, that really does add up. This level is one of the most inconsistent and annoying levels in the whole challenge campaign. I don't really run this anymore because
足元が弱い。
some of this stuff. This
ドラゴン
just
足
goes around
元が
gunslingers wait
弱い。
to have another volley left.
範囲が足りてない。
There we go, very
はい、
good.
来ました。
What
ハロー
happens
レイ
if
ンが
the people holding up the dragon puppet actually get
補助
killed
しました
is
ね。
they just start trying to punch the units. They just go out and they're very weak, but it actually can save the level. Definitely not the end of the world if that happens. Oh, that dragon's been killed. That's very annoying, but it should be fine. We've got the other one. That's unusual as well. Very unusual for that to happen. I believe what on this one we use is a very odd but straightforward sounding idea, which use these riflemen in a triangle inverted, so that the guys at the back come up later, and then they take out the guys, and they don't all volley at the same time and miss everything. What we're going to use here is, again, it's inconsistent. We're going to use a barrel roller. They explode on impact, as I've shown you in the introduction, and partly in the adventure campaign.
これ最初の
Direct everyone
ステー
in.
ジで
Hopefully
出て
that
き
kills
た
all of the
機で
halflings
す。
and a little
ユ
bit
ニ
of
ットで
damage
す
on
よ
these
ね。
guys. It hasn't done too well.
何がで
But as
き
long
る
as
や
we can
つ
kill these guys before they get in with the arrow,
歩兵
people will be fine. This might be alright. I think he's stuck on something. I'm not sure what. I think it's its own scythe, which is very fortunate. We don't have to restart. Here comes the halfling. It's not enough for the enemy to win it, I'm afraid. What are we going to use on this level? This level is decent for dragons. I think that it just about works. And we've got priests that heal them up, but actually the dragon does outweigh the dragon's fire does outweigh the healing effect, so we're totally fine on that regard.
なんかふとした瞬間に
Barrel roller and gunslingers on this one. There are just these
綺麗に
come at us.
一掃できるような
Here,
組み方できると楽しそうですよね。このゲーム
the
ね。
AI's hands, the gunslingers are actually much better, so it should be totally fine on levels like that. You can just trust them to
今の
work
自
their
爆
magic.
ユニットなのかな。
This level,
お、
one mammoth.
ゾウさんが洞窟から出てきた。
Despite the fact the mammoth costs a lot more, it's really useful to have that. One possible reason for a lot of this stuff.
ゾウさんをね、
The
公営に出してる時点で相手使い方が良くないんですよね。
Dragon were released after the first 3 campaigns with Dynasty. So maybe they're
なるべく前線に出してやんないと意味ないと思うんですよ。
that's not a criticism of the game. It's very fun.
あの巨体を生かす
Very
た
fun
めには。
mechanics. You can make your own levels. You can make your own
ドラゴン。
business as well. There's an entire workshop for it. It's very enjoyable casually. And for speedrunning, I think it
こ
actually
の狭い道でドラゴン出すの強いな。
I've had a go at this since the alpha, but as I was saying ages ago in the run, you may have heard of this game because of the alpha mode, where you had a little grid, which was all you really had available. Whoops, I didn't have enough money for it there. We just deleted cheerleader. You may have seen this with you have a grid set up. It's just a grey box, and then you place the units with little white lights. If you know what I mean, then this will make a lot of sense. But if you don't, then it's probably just gibberish. We've got to use dragons here. They essentially just breathe fire.
洞窟から追加が出てきます。
The guys in the cave can get stuck this time.
全部焼いていく。全部焼いていく。うわ。
Of the later levels in the challenge, like the last levels, are just the bomb cannon over and over again with cheerleaders, as I said earlier on. So that'll be a
Hello, Rain.
final messages and stuff, and just thanking
いいですね。
people
気
for
持
the
ちいいです。
community. That's in a few minutes, and we will probably be fine there. What we're going to use here is berserkers, which they'll get in and distract everyone, whilst the dragon comes in from behind and burns everyone. And this is a little bit frequent in some of the other campaigns. We use
なんかこっちのユニットが炎で吹き飛ばされてませんか？
better than the berserker in some ways for just distracting them because it teleports rather than jumping, which means we can actually we'll use Shadow Walker here actually. What it does is it teleports directly, so we can see him behind there. I imagine that you can't see anything I'm pointing to on the screen, but hey, I'll say again, in case you're tuning in, there's a Kirby plush back there somewhere because of CGF. Another brilliant runner. I say another brilliant runner like I'm a good runner of this game, but I'm actually cutting it really fine. So there's an enormous chain of bomb cannon levels, so this would be an excellent time for any donations if the reader is available to do so.
Perfect. We've got a $50 donation by Bangosh FM. I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly. There is no comment on it, but thank you so much for your donation. And this is also a good time to mention that if we hit the next milestone of $20,000 by about 5 p.m. today, we'll get another game show, as we've seen yesterday, hosted by Big John and with the contestants Huts and Polster. So let's get those donations in to match that milestone.
I remember last ESA there was a brilliant game showcase donation, which was Smarty's Meltdown. I don't know if people will have seen that, but it was highlight the last time I was here. Absolutely brilliant. It's worth donating for bonus games. I would have to implore you to do so. This is another bomb cannon level. Obviously, we just use it like that. Some of these you have to go quite far back for it to be consistent. Now, this is the last level that isn't a bomb cannon, to be honest. I think what we do here, the most consistent thing I've come up with, and it's not brilliant, is we send in these Shadow Walkers to teleport all the way behind. They take out the artillery, and then all of these guys with the Saracens get distracted by them, and then the dragon comes and burns them. And that's pretty good. It's a little bit slow, and this is the sort of thing that really bothers me. I don't know if it bothers any of the other runners about that, but I just think, oh god, this could be more optimized. And if you do want to join this community and get involved with coming up with strategies for these levels, please do, because this is one of those games that will never be as good as a
もう間もなく
There's
タイム
basically
になる
always
で
room
しょ
for
う
some
か。
optimization.
仲間ことやりた
Place the units and stuff like that.
かもしれない。
This one's a bit annoying. I don't know if there are snake archers here that are ranged. There were. There are these guys that fire snakes and then those lock onto your units.
自分の犠牲も厭わずっていう戦い方がそこそこ見受けられます。
The enemies, I should say. This is another one where we have to be very fortunate with the bombs exploding on certain characters in the air. Otherwise, it just won't work. We've got a hit there, and there's another one there, and there's another guy right at the back. Very good. That's hit them as well. You may have also noticed throughout the run that the things I'm shooting or like firing, whatever, actually very, very slightly divert towards the enemies. And this is really useful. It just means there's slight auto-targeting, which allows us to sometimes find out where enemies are that are stuck. And there's also health bars, which I've obviously turned on. You can customize that in the settings a lot. And it makes things a lot easier in terms of you can just find out where enemies are or whatever like that. And we get these guys out of the sky on the first try. I think we're fine. There we go. We're coming into some of the later stage levels now. This is not much left. How much do we have left, actually? We've only got 4 more after this one. So we are cutting it close, but we should be all right, I think. Can we go in here? More kings. Sorry, I'm just focusing a lot now because I want to get to the end of it safely. If there's any final things to be read out, then this is an ideal time. Again, it's just the same sorts of strategies for the end of the run. There may well not be.
I mean, I think it's a good time to point out some of the prices that we have. You can get a custom ESA PlayStation 5 or a Tears of the Kingdom limited edition Switch. And of course there are many others, also smaller prices.
今回のこの 100% っていうカテゴリー自体は SRC 上にはなくって各キャンペーンごとでの区切りになっているので、どちらかというとTA 気味なのかなと思いますね。このゲームのタイムアタック協会界隈のやり方。そういう意味でいくとやっぱり練習も回転量が増えるでしょうから、それだけね、プレイ量はとても多いでしょうしね。
I'm gonna miss it by seconds. This is so frustrating. Oh well.
ただ割と、なんだろう、今見ててわからないだけですけれど、どんなユニットを使うときにどんなリソースを使ってるのかっていうのがわかんないので、割と戦略はしっかり組めさえすれば相手の乱数とかがちゃんと良ければいい記録が出せそうな、そんな感じには見えけました。曲はね、そのゲームプレイしてみないとわからないところではございます。ということで、GG です。プレイ終了となりました。
The next run will be Endless ATC by Rawstats So make sure to stick around so you don't miss
い
that.
かがでしたでしょうか。ということで、7月24日4時21分、まもなく22分になろうというところですけれども、私の司会進行、ここまでとなります。引き続き、ジャパンイーズリストリーム、そして ESA サマー2023でお楽しみください。